what's up? Welcome to episode 119 of an ongoing series where we basically take the camera anywhere we want and we try to find secrets and new discoveries to some of our favorite games. So this is the very first episode made by the new team of people trying to bring you more episodes of Boundary Break. And if in the coming weeks you're really enjoying this weekly content, consider supporting on Patreon. All funds will go towards making the episodes better and better, as well as try to maintain a weekly schedule. But with that said, let's get going. So we got to start off this episode by answering a question that a lot of fans have, which is, of course, is there anything inside of any of these cars? And after looking through as many as we could, the answer is a bit of an underwhelming no. Obviously, you're going to see some geometry poke through that is supposed to be for the outside of the vehicle, but outside of that, you're not going to find much else. It's the reason why all the windows are tinted. It saves on resources to not have anything modeled on the inside. If we were to take the camera underneath, you can see all these seagulls that you do get to see in-game. However, these seagulls are reference models when used in the map. Now, full disclosure, the developers of Rocket League have made the camera completely unrestricted, so everything I'm about to show you here, you could find for yourself, but I am taking the time to showcase all the things that you can't normally see while just playing the game, like for example, these hidden Moai statues. Now you see this mountain here? This is something that's hiding the Moai statues, which means that the developers are deliberately hiding Easter eggs in their game, which is especially fun for someone like me, so let's continue this little search. Is there anything inside of any of these buildings here? Well, nope. Although the movie theater, the topper store, the bread store, the carousel, and the roller coaster are all things that you can normally see while just playing the game, you don't normally get a good look at everything up close, so moving the camera in allows us to focus on the details that would be a lot harder to notice. But way off in the distance, if you look at this water here and take yourself off to the right, you can find a large section of grass underneath the water. And it almost looks like this pattern was deliberate, but since it's on the edge of the map, it's very likely that this was here by accident. But way more interesting than that, there is a dev textured rectangle far off in the distance and underground. It's tilted at a 45-degree angle, and you can also find this in the DFH Stadium. And with that, let's give you a nice zoom out of Salty Shores. Now we're taking a look at Manfield. This is one of the earliest maps for Rocket League, and it kind of shows. For one thing, there's a plethora of unnecessary buildings in the backgrounds, hundreds in fact, and for whatever reason they're modeled on all sides. Now the reason why this is kind of odd is because developers are very good about maintaining resource management in their video games, and one of the first things you see when you maintain that level of cleanup is that the models for buildings in the distance are not modeled on all sides. The less tries you have on a 3D object, the more resources you have. Simple as that. So to see that these buildings are made in full 3D is kind of strange, especially when you consider the fact that this is before they decide to allow the replay camera to be seen in any way, shape, or form. And over here we have some audience members that are squished into tiny little rods. It's kind of interesting there. And if we look inside the standard ball, we will find nothing. But if you look inside the ball in this stage, core 707, you'll find an energy core. It's textured inside of a black hole looking sphere, and outside of that is a slight hue of the player's color. And if we look at what happens when the ball breaks, we can stop and look at the very second in which the ball explodes. And one of the strange things is that the fragments disappear when the player gets close rather than far away. This is probably due to the visibility that the player would have if it was really close. And here's a different perspective of the glowing hexes for the stage itself. Showing what happens underneath the stage when the ball breaks the map is actually pretty interesting. So the animation falls quite a way before stopping abruptly. And funny enough, the pieces stay in place until the map resets. Now the ball disappears pretty much immediately, but the particle effects for the ball stays in place, meaning that the ball is essentially called out at this point. And to help explain what's going on with this map, you can see here that there are 3 different layers. The first is an orange and blue glowing plane, and under that is a network of nodes, which would be pretty difficult to see since it's underneath a whole bunch of geometry. And then of course underneath that is the black plane. Next up is the wasteland, and there's nothing really hidden here, but we can give you a good clean close-up of a background element that you might have missed. I know a lot of you were probably too far into the zone to take the time to smell the roses here, so happy to give you a good look at the robot parts from Psyonix's other game, Ark Squadron. You see, Junkmaster here is scattered throughout the entire map, such as his robot arms and his head. And then over here in Utopia Coliseum, the theme is reminiscent of the SRPBC Utopia Arena. Once again, not much is hidden, however, there is a very pretty map. It has lots of details in the scenery, such as these benches here, the gorgeous fountains, a cute little town with a detailed balcony that allows the homeowners to see the game nice and clear. Also, the skybox is not infinite because this is an older stage. In the newer stages, they went through the trouble of making sure that it goes on for infinity. But like I said, since the camera wasn't fully unrestricted all the way in the past, things like this weren't considered at the time. And so you get this relic of an old style map. In Champions Field, if we fly outside the stage, we can see that the floor is far below the stadium. There are some strange geometric designs that you cannot see from inside the arena, and it looks almost like some sort of energy. There are also more hidden Moai statues hidden throughout this map, as well as the logo on the floating cameras, as well as the blimp, and on top of the scoreboard, which this one is actually a 3D model. The skybox here is very far away, and it has a very strange subtle 3D effect. You see, the clouds are dynamic and work on a separate layer from the skybox itself. And the fireworks are in fact 3D particles and not projections like most games. Not much is behind the stadium. The stands are layered where you can't see the back of the stadium as there's no actual wall backing. But with that said, we can move on to Aquadome. This beautiful ocean theme map has many details. The coral underneath the arena looks like it's underwater. However, it's a plane with a displacement map distorting the image to simulate water. Now, there's nothing inside of any of the fish or animals, but a blowfish can be seen in the background. This can be seen inside the arena, but once again, this is a detail that's very difficult to spot. This is also where the smaller fish is stored and is called in for an animation. And fun little fact, the blowfish is also known as the Crash Course Blowfish, and he can be seen on the bills of the Money Boost Trail. And over here is where the whale is stored until needed for an animation. The sunken ship is SARPBC's Galleon Arena, and for those just curious, no, there's nothing inside. And here's the reflection of the audience's observatory capsule, and is actually a cube map reflection of the inside of the main arena. Now with that all the way, let's take a look at one of the earliest maps in Rocket League, Beckwith Park. This arena is where the training mode takes place. And the age of this arena really shows. Background details are very plain and simple, and the trees and bushes are very distinctly at a level of detail that is much lower quality than the rest of the game, and is made out of the same model building blocks. An interesting detail that can easily be overlooked is that the arena, Manfield, can be seen in the background. Here's Neo Tokyo, and the first thing we're going to look at is Bob's Ramen. We're going to fly above the bowl of ramen to see if there's any actual ramen inside of it. And the answer is yeah. Now granted, it's just a flat texture that represents the ramen, but still, it's much more common to see nothing at all in games like this when the camera is normally pointed below the targeted object. And here's a clip of where the train goes off to, as well as a clip of where the train respawns. And the Sky Dome is particularly trippy. Like if you look outside here, you can see everything that the player is supposed to see, but then there's a skybox outside the skybox. Crazy stuff. And although it's not hidden, there is a hologram of another Moai statue. And I gotta say, I think we need to ask ourselves, what is a developer's obsession with Moai statues? But that aside, despite the fact that this is a very detailed map, there isn't too much to see outside the boundaries. But given that it's a detailed map, I think it'd be a good idea to give you a nice good zoom out, showing you all of those details in one shot. Now we're taking a look at Starbase Ark. The course takes place on a Halo-like ring, but however, it's mainly inspired by Psyonix's other game, Ark Squadron. Pillars are found throughout the scenery on the side of the ring, and one pillar is a Moai disguised as a pillar. Alright, and if we take a look at the ships in the distance, one is in a battle with fighter pilots surrounding it. These fighter pilots are the same jets seen in other stages, such as the Champions Field, and they fly overhead when scoring a goal. And this level is massive. The arena is unbelievably small compared to the absolute girth that is this stage. Up next is Urban Central. An incredibly hard to see, but not impossible to see tunnel seems to go underneath the arena and even connects to two goals. The trains have ramps that go in and out of the station above the arena, and just wanted to give you a look at that in action before moving on to what is probably far more interesting, an unused train type that's stored off in the distance. This train is completely unique, and this is suspended below the rail instead of riding it. Farmstead, what a beautiful stage. Well, of course, it wouldn't be a map in Rocket League if there wasn't a Moai statue. Again, here you go. This one's on a tire swing. Diving underneath the floor reveals all the other interweaving landmasses. Rather than modeling the ground as one large square, they used many squares and overlapped them with each other. And here's one of the weirdest Easter eggs you're probably going to see in this game, and probably one of the best you can find here on Boundary Break. Underneath the stadium, you can find two audience members totally making out. I guess a fun little note here, they're from opposing teams. You can really tell that the teams seem to have a lot of fun on Farmstead of all places. But for a more technical side of things, we can take a look outside the map to see that there is a box that imitates the lens flare effect. It's kind of a neat little trick because they don't have to physically render it this way. But now to throw down a reverse card and show you more Easter eggs, the battle car Renegade from SAR PBC can be seen in the background as an old abandoned vehicle. And what's a Boundary Break episode without some unused content? So if we take the camera over in the distance here, we can see what looks to be hills that are seen on the opposite side of the map. However, when you fly to it, it's completely separate from the rest of the map, and it appears to be a discarded asset that can be barely seen from the stage. This is possibly an early version of the Manfield, or it's simply a misplaced part of the ground. And with that, let's take it back to where it all started in this episode, and give you a nice zoom out of Salty Shores. Thank you guys so much for watching. Huge thank you to both of the gentlemen who worked on this episode of Boundary Break. Like I said, we've just assembled a team, and the goal is to do one episode a week. We haven't hit our goal just yet, but with your support, maybe we can reach that. $1 a month is more than enough to say thank you for all the extra content. And also, if you thought that they did a good job on this episode, let them know in the comments. I'm sure they'd love to hear it. And for myself, I'm working behind the scenes on a Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order episode. So if you're excited about that game, and let me tell you, it's going to be a doozy, I definitely recommend you stay tuned and check that one out very, very soon. Hopefully next week, which is so nice to say. But anyways, guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye. Hey, a big thank you to the top contributors this month, Steven Olson, who's been supporting me for a very long time now. So Steven, thank you for upping your pledge. And Mana also is a top contributor who is a brand new patron. So thank you so much, Mana. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you for making this all possible. Take it easy, guys.